All right, welcome to the Kubernetes SIG Cluster Lifecycle Cluster API Provider Azure Office Hours. It is Thursday, May 26th, 2022. The year is almost halfway over. How did that happen? Don't know. We are abiding by the CNCF Code of Conduct. Please use the raise hands feature, and this meeting will be recorded. Let's see, we've got, I think, perhaps a little bit of CAPZ release excitement. Matt, do you want to tell us about that? Or
Sure, I guess that's the only thing we have on here.
let me share
Everyone
the
is probably well
agenda.
aware, but we had a patch release last week that fixed a couple significant things. Essentially, up until now, Azure user assigned ID was not working correctly, but it is now. And then the Calico upgrade thing relates to upstream testing, so it won't actually affect most people, but we're on the almost latest Calico. There's actually a new patch we might want to pull in.
Cool. Sorry, I'm trying to share my screen, but I have way too many windows that all look the same, and I'm trying to not share the wrong one. So, I see it. Sharing now. Yes, this is the right
Cool.
thing. So yeah, putting this up here, we've got that 1.3.1 release.
Yep. That's about it, and we're still working on the 1.4 milestone. Maybe we should look at that while we're here.
Sure, absolutely. And do we anticipate this will in fact go out in early July?
Seems like we have a good chance. What do you guys think? What do you think, Cecile?
Yeah, I think it'd be nice if we try to stick to just try this out. We said we would try to do a release cadence that's driven by date rather than by feature. So the idea is that on July 6th, that's when we release, even if this list is not done, which is very likely. This is just the things we're trying to work towards, like our main priorities right now. But if we don't get all of them done, that's okay. We release 1.4, and then we move all the remaining ones that are still relevant to the 1.5 milestone.
Okay, awesome. And looking at the milestones, do we right now, if we're kicking things out of 1.4, do we put them in next? Or right now, should we have a 1.5, ready to go? Or should we create that closer to the time?
In the past, what we've done is just create the new milestone at the time of the release,
Okay.
and just move everything that's left over.
Absolutely.
But we can also put things in next now if we already know that we don't want to focus on them anymore for this release.
Right, of course. I am excited to see that this plot car support one might be in this release. This has been a long time coming. So exciting.
I guess I should add the new SKUs to this, the new SKUs changes to this milestone, although that should land today. And then we'll cherry pick it back to 1.3, I assume.
Yes.
But I'll go add that.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Do we have anything else that we want to talk about? But we didn't talk about this fix for Azure assigned user ID. Is this in that particular thing in the release? Is it that was just a bug fix?
Yeah.
I see.
There was a disagreement over what we were supposed to put in that field between us and cloud provider. And so we fixed it from both sides. So if you're using an up-to-date external cloud provider, then this is fixed regardless of whether or not you got the CAPZ fix.
Oh, that's
but in
good.
general, most people will need this to be safe.
Right. Okay.
At some point in the far future, as that to-do comment shows it, at some point in the future when we're sure that cloud provider everywhere has been patched, we can undo this,
Mhm, mhm.
and if that time ever arrives.
I was gonna say that the mythological future in which everything everywhere is patched. I don't know.
Well,
I
because
wouldn't hold my
it would need
breath.
to be patched on the in-tree version of Cloud Provider as well, and I don't think that's actually going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's possible to get bug fixes into that.
It is, but I don't think we've tried to do that with this one. I should go follow up.
Oh, we could. Yeah, they'll take bug fixes for sure. Okay. Let's see. Anything else that we should chat about?
Just, I hope everybody saw Vince's email yesterday. That was pretty awesome. He did a really good job of summarizing all the cluster API hype that happened at KubeCon, and there was quite a lot of it. So it feels
Yeah.
good to be part of a project that's on the way up.
It's pretty exciting. I'll put a note in here. We should add a link to the notes because I believe they posted something as well. So we can link to the happy report from KubeCon.
Yeah, good call.
Okay. All right. What else, if anything, should we discuss?
I guess I have one small thing.
Mhm.
So I've been playing with speaking of user-assigned identity, but so there's two identities in CabZ. There's the identity that we use to actually create the cluster, and then there's the identities that we put on the VMs, like the node VMs that are created as part of the workload cluster. So right now for VM identity, we support managed identities like user assigned and system assigned. But for creating the actual cluster, we use AAD pod identity, which supports three methods of authentication. First one is service principal. Second one is service principal with a certificate. And then the third one is user assigned identity. We actually only support service principals right now in CabZ. So you can't use a user assigned or other type of managed identity to like actually create the cluster. You need a service principal. I was able to add like support for user assigned identity. It's not too much of a big change, like it works, and it's not too much change on the CabZ side. The main issue, like the reason I'm doubtful about actually opening the PR and I wanted to get people's thoughts on it is, first one is that it actually requires like a Azure VM to be used as the management cluster node, because you can only have an identity if you're running on an Azure resource. And so this only works if you're using something like AKS as your management cluster or another CabZ cluster as your management cluster that has a VM identity. You can't just like add the identity to a Kang cluster or something like that. So that's the first thing. It's pretty restrictive. And
Did Cecile's just freeze for anyone else?
oh,
Okay. It froze
okay.
for a second, but it must be me. Please
I
continue.
so yeah, I'll just tell you what I said again. So the second thing is we're trying to move away from AD pod identity to workload identity, because AD pod identity is deprecated and is being replaced by Azure workload identity, which is a newer project, which is equivalent. So do we want to add this support in, knowingly that we might completely move away from it very soon? And then the other thing is Azure Workload Identity does not yet support managed identities as far as I'm aware. So it would be adding support for one thing that we basically have to regress later on. But we could also add both in parallel for now. Like we don't have to get rid of AD pod identity right away. We could also put workload identity behind some sort of feature flag and then have both available for testing until Azure Workload Identity maybe supports managed identity. I don't know if that's in the plans or not. My impression is that it is. So I guess my question is, do we think it's valuable to add user-assigned identity support for creating clusters? or not. Does anyone have thoughts on that?
So it requires an Azure VM with managed identity on it, or an identity on it, in order to bootstrap everything, like the management cluster in the first place. Get this
No,
authentication from an existing VM, or it would be enough to have. Could we provision an AKS management
yes.
cluster, and then okay.
Yeah, you can create an AKS management cluster with managed identity and then use those identities as long as they have the right role assignments.
Yeah, I'm thinking selfishly of the AZ CAPI thing, and so it would actually help out. It would work pretty well there because we default
Yeah,
to AKS.
then you don't need a service principal anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But you do need to assign role assignments because your default managed identities in AKS won't have necessary permissions on the subscription. And so that means it won't be able to fetch images or resource queues or create resource groups.
But that's some additional scripting we could just add into the client so that people don't need to know about that.
Yes, but not everyone has permissions in their subscription to create role assignments.
Oh, right.
It's a very restrictive, like you need owner or administrative rights to do that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of putting anything like this behind a feature flag, in that I worry that for people who don't understand what just changed and also don't have the ability to use it, I wouldn't want to break their default experience.
Yeah, so this particular feature, this would be an opt-in, like it would be a feature or an option alongside what we have right now. There's no default really. It's up to you to like pick it. So if you don't choose it, if you don't change your template, you won't notice it's there. It's more for the like switching to workload identity, which is way more invasive and would like change everything underneath. That's where I was thinking of doing a feature flag.
Cheyenne?
Yeah, one thing like I want to like make sure is like if we are going to move away from AAD pod identity to workload identity, I think this feature might provide the incentive for like the users to use AAD pod identity instead of workload identity, which is not what we want, I think so. So yeah, we'll need to like keep that in mind if we want to like move to workload identity as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's my thinking too. But on the other hand, if some users actually need this for like, because they can't use service principals in their production pipelines, for example, then it would be good to give them that option before it's too late. And then we can keep that as a backup, until workload identity gets there.
Right. Do you know like an approximate timeline when this might get implemented in workload identity?
My understanding is that it's not just work to be done, it's that Azure like identity doesn't support what they need in order to support it right now. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if it's like being worked on or if it's something that is at all. I mean, I can try to find out more and post on the repo or channel and see what they say.
Okay. I think it might be worth opening an issue for the and discussing over there.
Okay.
I'm just dropping a link in the chat now to the roadmap for workload identity. Haven't thoroughly looked yet to see if it covers this, but it has a number of items on the roadmap that might be informative.
I guess the danger would be that, it's not fully featured, or there may be a lot of caveats to the feature. And so we could end up spending a lot of time reminding people that, no, it doesn't support this, or you have to do this and all that. So the trade-off is it could end up being a lot of support time for a sort of halfway implemented feature. But even so, I think it'd be good to have it supported.
Yeah, I agree. As long as we're giving people a path forward, I think that's a good idea. Okay. Do we have anything more on this topic? Or do we have any further topics that people would like to discuss? I see we had some folks join us along the way. So, and if anybody who recently joined would like to introduce himself, since we missed having you introduce yourself at the top of the hour, please go ahead.
Hey everyone, I'm Nawaz. Recently joined the team and yeah, happy to be here.
Welcome.
Wonderful.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Hi.
Hey, Ronald.
I'm good, and you? My name is Ronald. I'm based in Harare, Zimbabwe. I'm new to Kubernetes. I'm here to learn.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
You're welcome anytime. And we're excited to see what you have to say as you learn more. And thank you for that link, Cecile, to the issue blocking support. I'll put that in the notes. All right. Do we have any more topics before we call this office hours complete for today? Okay. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you next time. Bye.